Shalom, friends, and welcome to Walking the Ancient Path, where we journey back into the language, landscape, and life rhythms of the Scriptures in a lighter, more accessible way, exploring the world of the Bible as its original listeners would have experienced it.
Today we'll pick up our in-depth exploration of the entire book of Galatians verse by verse and unpack each passage within the context of organic ancient Hebrew thought, formatted like a living Hebrew commentary. The verse will be presented directly with the text from the Textus Receptus New Testament manuscript translated into English for reference. It will be retold through concrete Hebrew thought patterns and symbols followed by imagery notes.
Let's pick up where we left off, opening chapter 2 of Galatians.
Verse 1. Then 14 years after I went up again to Jerusalem with Barnabas, and took Titus with me also.
Then, after 14 years, I went up again to Jerusalem, this time with Barnabas beside me, and I also brought with me Titus.
14 years later. The long period highlights Paul's independence from Jerusalem's authority. In Hebrew symbolism, 14, 2 sevens, indicates a fullness of time, representing a complete cycle of waiting before this return. I went up again to Jerusalem. To go up, Allah, evokes ascending the holy mountain where Yahweh's name dwells. Paul describes his journey not as duty but as a meaningful ascent. With Barnabas, Barnabas means son of encouragement, son of prophecy. In Hebrew imagery, his name calls to mind the comforting voice around the campfire steadying the group. He was a Levite from Cyprus, serving as a bridge between cultures. Titus with me also. Titus was a Greek, uncircumcised. His presence was intentional. Paul deliberately brought him as a living witness that Gentiles can be part of the covenant family without undergoing circumcision.
Verse 2. And I went up by revelation, and communicated unto them that gospel which I preach among the Gentiles, but privately to them which were of reputation, lest by any means I should run, or had run, in vain.
I went up because of a revelation from Elohim, and I set before them the besorah that I proclaim among the nations, but I shared it in private with those of high standing, so that I might be sure the race I was running had not been emptied of its purpose.
I went up by revelation. Paul did not go to Jerusalem on his own or because others called him. In Hebrew imagery, Yahweh opened the tent flap and told him to go. It was through divine unveiling. Communicated unto them, literally laid before them. The image is of spreading out a meal on the cloth so everyone can see. Paul laid out the besorah openly, nothing hidden. The gospel I preach among the Gentiles. His message is that Gentiles, through Emunah, their trust and reliance in Yeshua, are welcomed into the covenant family without needing to become Jews first. In Hebrew imagery, wild olive shoots are grafted into the tree without changing their bark, privately to them which were of reputation. Paul wisely chose to speak first with the recognized leaders, the clan elders of the Kahal, not to flatter but to guard unity. This echoes Hebrew wisdom. Approach the elders at the gate before addressing the whole village, lest I should run, or had run, in vain. The image is of a runner carrying the victory news. If the elders rejected his message, it would seem as if all his running was for nothing. Not that Paul doubted Elohim's call, but he longed for confirmation that the other apostles stood with him on the same path.
Verse 3. But neither Titus, who was with me, being a Greek, was compelled to be circumcised.
But not even Titus, who was with me, though he was a Greek, was required to take on circumcision.
Neither Titus was compelled. Titus stood beside Paul as a test case. In Hebrew imagery, he was like a branch from another tree now connected to Israel's olive. The leaders in Jerusalem did not demand he bear the knife's mark. Being a Greek, Titus had no Jewish background or ancestral ties to the Torah. His identity was entirely Gentile, yet he was fully accepted as a brother in the covenant family. Was compelled to be circumcised. Circumcision, Brit Milah, was the sign of the covenant given to Abraham's descendants. Some argued it was necessary for Gentiles as well. Paul points out that the apostles themselves did not require Titus to be circumcised, showing that belonging was based on Yeshua's work, not physical circumcision.
Verse 4. And that because of false brethren unawares brought in, who came in privily to spy out our liberty which we have in Christ Jesus, that they might bring us into bondage.
This matter arose because of false brothers who were smuggled in among us, creeping in secretly to spy on the freedom we hold in the Anointed, Yeshua, hoping they might drag us back into chains.
False brethren. In Hebrew imagery, these are not genuine clan brothers, but impostors wearing borrowed garments. Their presence threatens the household's integrity. Unawares brought in, smuggled in, implies stealth, like wolves sneaking through the tent flap under cover of night. They were not openly part of the fellowship, but hidden intruders. To spy out our liberty, their purpose was not to join, but to observe, to examine closely. In Hebrew thought, this is like enemies watching the camp from the hills, searching for weakness. The liberty is not license, but covenant freedom, the freedom from the weight of man-made burdens, walking upright in the favor of Yahweh, which we have in the anointed Yeshua. Freedom rooted in Yeshua's work, not earned through ritual or law-keeping. It is the wide space of the shepherd's pasture compared to the cramped stalls of slavery. That they might bring us into bondage. Their aim was to drag believers back under a yoke of slavery of the fence around the Torah. In imagery, it's like trying to bind the wrists of freed men and lead them back into Pharaoh's brickyards.
Verse 5. To whom we gave place by subjection, no, not for an hour, that the truth of the gospel might continue with you.
We did not yield to them, not even for a moment, so that the straight path of the besorah would remain standing firm with you.
We gave place by subjection. No, not for an hour. Paul and his companions refused to bow, not even briefly. In Hebrew imagery, this is like standing in the gateway of the tent and not letting intruders cross the threshold. Their refusal was immediate and complete. That the truth of the gospel, emet, truth, is about firmness, reliability, and a solid ground that does not shift. The besorah must stay straight, untwisted, serving as a sure path for the feet of those who follow. Might continue with you. The image shows the trail stretching out before the Galatians, unbroken and uncorrupted, so they could walk it with confidence. Paul's resistance in Jerusalem was for their sake, protecting the message so no crooked teaching would creep in to weigh them down.
Verse 6. But of these who seem to be somewhat, whatsoever they were, it makes no matter to me. God accepts no man's person. For they who seem to be somewhat in conference added nothing to me.
But from those who were considered to be pillars of reputation, whatever they were once, is of no weight to me. For Yahweh does not lift up one man's face above another. The ones who were held in esteem added nothing to my message.
Those who seem to be somewhat, a Hebrew idiom for those considered important, men of standing in the community. Paul respects them but does not treat their status as the source of truth. Whatsoever they were, it maketh no matter to me. Paul strips away any notion of hierarchy. In Hebrew imagery, he is saying, no cloak of honor changes the reality. Before Yahweh, all men stand on the same ground. God accepteth no man's person, a direct echo of Torah, Deuteronomy 10:17. Yahweh shows no partiality, does not lift the face of one above another. In imagery, the father at the tent entrance does not favor one child over the rest because of their garments or titles. They added nothing to me. Paul's besorah did not need correction or supplement. The other apostles affirmed it and did not alter it. In Hebrew imagery, his message was already a whole loaf, nothing missing, nothing to add.
We'll pause here and continue in our next chat.
If you listeners have areas of interest you'd like to explore further, questions, or comments, please don't hesitate to let us know.